All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Coverage. Walsh along with Chris Mueller for tonight's show. And Chris, I want to get into the draft right now, but before we get into the draft and potentially who they might take, we've been doing these draft previews every day. Today we did cornerbacks, which ironically maybe would catapult them into the first round here now of potentially looking at a cornerback. There's a couple out there that might fall to them at 24, and they might need one because Justin Lane might not be on this team. Now, I know earlier today you said you were down on Justin Lane and you don't think he's going to make this team, but I thought he would, and I think that they need a guy like this, and I'm not giving up on him just yet. But do you think what he did last night and what potentially could happen is going to cost him a roster spot on this team?
Well, let me make it clear here. I'm down on Justin Lane because I don't think he's that good of a player. He's certainly not a proven player. He barely has any defensive snaps so far through his career with the Steelers. I don't think he's going to lose his roster spot. I think this is going to be something where he pays some fines, has to go to court and, get all of his traffic tickets taken care of, and he might not be able to drive for a while. But I don't think this is going to be something where the Steelers say, sorry, you're too bad of a citizen. This is more carelessness, immaturity than anything, in my opinion, so far. So I don't think it's going to cost him his spot. The thing that I don't understand about the discourse that has come out relative to the draft because of this incident is the idea that it changes or has a chance of changing their draft plans. Like, I don't think cornerback was necessarily going to be more or less of a need based on Justin Lane getting in trouble or staying out of trouble because he's their third guy, if that. I mean, James Pierre, I think, is somebody they want to take a long look at. As far as these corners in the draft, I mean, the two obvious best guys are Patrick Surtain and J.C. Horn, and they're both going to be gone by pick 24. I think it's a real big roll of the dice, given this team's history drafting corners and given Caleb Farley's injury history with the back issues. If he's sitting there at 24, I would have a hard time pulling the trigger because you have absolutely no idea what you're going to get.
Do you think we'll see potentially an off-the-wall pick? Say someone like Justin Fields drops to 24. Micah Parsons. Guys like this. I mean, would they deviate off what they need to take one of these guys?
Richie, well, Micah Parsons, you want to talk about maturity issues. That guy seems to have a lot of real things going back to Penn State that would be potential red flags. I think he'll be long gone, though, because I think teams covet what he can do athletically despite the maturity problems. If Justin Fields is there, you might know this, Richie. I have a lot of Cleveland, blood in my family. My mom's from Cleveland. My listeners, my detractors like to point out that I'm some sort of sleeper agent sent here from Cleveland to destroy Pittsburgh sports talk, which, my God, I don't need to be from Cleveland to do that. I might have to go up there and camp out at my uncle's house in Cleveland because if Justin Fields is still on the board at pick 24, I'm going to drive over to wherever they're holding this draft on Lake Erie, and I'm going to sign the card with Justin Fields' name on it myself and turn it into Roger Goodell. I'll go so far as to say this. They were willing to trade up, 10 picks to get Devin Bush a couple of years ago? If Justin Fields is sitting there still and you're at pick 13, I would be trying feverishly, if I were Kevin Colbert, to move up and go get him at pick 14, one pick ahead of New England. It'd be more of a cost because he's a quarterback, not an inside linebacker. But if he drops out of the top 10, you absolutely have to start working the phones and trying to find your next franchise quarterback. It's malpractice organizationally to not do that if that situation presents itself.
I see your point. But the fact that Ben's coming back, they need guys that can play this year, right? That's why
I disagree because I don't think they're a contender even with Ben. They'd have to have a 1974 level draft to even have a chance, where guys just step in and are stars almost immediately. I think it's way more responsible in the long term if Justin Fields or even Trey Lance, whose athleticism and even though he's a little raw and the competition jump would be significant, I'd even say Trey Lance is worth it. If either one of those guys is sitting there and they're not drafted and it's 10, 11, 12th pick is already down, you've got to be trying to move up. You have to have your eyes on something beyond 2021, where I think at best you're going to be the 6th or 7th best team in the AFC, at best.
All right, let's go out to Tony in the Hill District. How you doing, Tony?
Hey, Rich, how you doing?
Good, thanks for calling.
I want to say I hope the Steelers decide to pick up a couple of tight ends because to me they really haven't done nothing with tight ends in the last couple of years. And I do also want to say if Roethlisberger do not, I mean, he's an awesome quarterback, don't get me wrong, but he hasn't done nothing really spectacular over the last couple of years neither. So if he don't do nothing like get them into the middle of the playoffs or the Super Bowl or something, I think they really should let him go and pick up a quarterback or something and use that salary cap for something that they really need.
Well, they should be trying to build the team for the future no matter what, because they're going to have if he doesn't play well this year, he'd have to play really, really well and take them, like you said, middle of the playoffs at least. And then I think they'd talk about having him come back, and he'd probably want to come back. Assuming that doesn't happen, and I'm in the camp that thinks that it won't happen, you've got to try to take advantage of and build a team that if you find your next quarterback in a draft, next year or even the year after that, you've got to build a team that's ready if that kid is precocious to try to contend. Look at the rest of the division right now. Why are people high on Baltimore? Why are people high on Cleveland and Cincinnati, especially Cleveland and Baltimore? Because they have guys still on rookie deals under center, and they have built really strong teams around both of those players. The Bengals are starting to try to do it with Joe Burrow. You're going to have all this cap room. You're going to lock up T.J. Watt. You're going to lock up Minka. You've got to be thinking long term. It can't just be a 2021 laser focus for Kevin Colbert.
All right, let's go out to Randy in Beaver Falls. How you doing, Randy?
Hey, how y'all doing tonight?
Good. Thanks for calling.
Good.
All right. Hey, I think hope to God we get Najee Harris from Alabama. We need a good, solid running back like that. And
who's going to block for him?
Randy, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. That's my pick. If Najee Harris is there, that's who I want the Steelers to take. I get what you're saying, who's going to block for him, but I want the running back. I want the skilled position. I want the player that can help you do something, help you get points. And Najee Harris is the guy for me.
Well, I mean, okay, so he's a better back than anybody. I think we can all say honestly, he's an obvious upgrade, just pure running back, over anybody they had on the roster last year and will have on the roster this year. No one's disputing that. How good can he be, though, if they're getting caved in on one side of the line? Like, Chuks Okorafor is a good athlete. That's why they're going to give him a shot at left tackle here. But he is by no means like a road grader, nasty, physical type of player. I think Zach Banner can be and wants to be. DeCastro, if he's healthy, that's fine. Kevin Dotson is a mauler at left guard. But there might be 2 out of the 5 spots, on this offensive line where you've got pretty big mysteries there, and you don't know what you're going to get. I refuse to believe that you can go in with a first-round running back in the draft this year, take him, and then assume that he's just going to be better and significantly upgrade your running game. I think that's also short-sighted.
Well, okay, Chris. I mean, do you think that they could draft someone in the first round? If you draft a running back or a tackle, who has the best chance at starting this year? I would think a running back would be, right?
Oh, the running back, but who has the best chance of making a long-term impact? You could have Tevin Jenkins start either right away or close to it and then be your left tackle for the next 8 to 10 years. That running back is almost certainly not going to see a second contract, especially if he's a first rounder and you just pick up that 5th-year option. I would much rather, let me put it this way, I would much rather do the following. Get a tackle in the first round. If Javonte Williams is still hanging around at pick 55, you can go up there and grab him. That's fine with me. But I'd even be okay with if Landon Dickerson, because of the knee injury concerns, fell all the way to 55. Go and tackle, center, and then worry about the running back later. It's just been proven. It's a very fungible position. It's a position you can find much later in the draft, and it's just not worth the draft capital to take one in the first round. That's just the reality of the NFL in 2021.
So if you got those 2 guys like we talked about, what if Trey Sermon was there in the 3rd round? Would you be happy with a guy like him?
Yeah, I'd be way more okay with that from a roster management and a draft capital management standpoint. It would be just a much more sound use of it. Now, granted, Landon Dickerson would be a risk because you don't know if his knees are going to hold up health-wise, and I get that. But he's clearly the best center in this draft. Brian Baldinger was on with us on the PM team this week. He thinks he's the best offensive lineman, period. If you have a chance to potentially solidify 40% of your offensive line for the next decade and then go get a second-tier running back, run up and do that, because that's how smart teams build their rosters anymore.
I heard that interview, and I just questioned the fact that he had 2 knee injuries. So he's maybe
sure,
one more.
It. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's what would worry me. Even if you draft a guy in the 2nd round, it's still going to worry me. I mean, I guess at some point you have to take a chance with it. All right, let's go to our Tri-State Office Furniture tweet of the day, and this is from Jameson Hensley over there covering the Ravens. Trading Orlando Brown to the Chiefs. Ravens expected to replace him with right tackle with Al Villanueva. He's a big friend of the fan over there, Chris Mueller and the fan, and Jim Culling and all those guys. So Villanueva potentially will be with the Ravens, and it sounds like that's going to happen. And Hensley here said that the Ravens had some picks and won't have much of a drop-off with Villanueva there. I mean,
what?
I don't know if he watched him
He's never played
all year.
the position.
I don't know if he watched him the last 2 years here in Pittsburgh, but I don't know. I think Villanueva his
He's never
career's
played
over.
right tackle. That's a big drop-off. He's never played right tackle, and he can't run block for a team that's led the league in rushing attempts 3 years running now. I'm sorry, Al. We've broken bread with Al and had wings with him in the studio here at the Fan. Great dude, fun guy to talk to in that way. Like, very interesting guy. He can't run block. This would be subtraction by addition for the Ravens and a boon to the rest of the division if, in fact, they sign Al Villanueva and slot him in as their starting right tackle. You can mark me down as saying that because it's not going to get thrown back in my face.
Yeah, there's definitely a reason why the Steelers didn't even entertain the option of bringing him back. All right, we got to take a break. Back with more of your phone calls, some of your tweets coming up next. Stay right there.